Passage 12, Boxcart Adventure. I yawned and stretched as I hesitantly got off the bed. I walked about contemplating what I could do this sunny morning. As I went around the house looking for something to amuse myself, I noticed a wooden box tucked away at the back of the shed. This was going to be my adventure for the day. I moved a few pipes, 2 pieces of cardboard, and brushed a few cobwebs aside, then proceeded to drag the dusty box from its dark hiding spot. In the box, there were some nails, a few short pieces of wood, quite a few nuts, bolts, and washers, an old rusty hammer, and a can of paint. I was sure I could make something with all that I had found. I anxiously started joining things together, using the hammer and some nails to make holes, then using the nuts and bolts to hold the pieces of wood together. I was deeply engrossed in this activity when I looked up and saw my neighbor Timmy coming through the track. "Hey, what are you doing?" he asked. I told him I wasn't really sure. I was just putting pieces of wood together. After playing around with the different materials for a few minutes, Timmy remembered he had seen a box of wheels his dad had brought home from his job at the refinery. Timmy ran home, and a few minutes later he reappeared, excitedly carrying a box with wheels, rope, nuts, bolts, and some more nails. It wasn't long before we were assembling 4 well-oiled, shiny silver wheels onto a frame with some nuts, bolts, and washers. After a couple hours of tinkering and a few close calls of hammered fingers, we had a finished product ready for testing. We decided to go to the top of Ice Cream Hill, so called because of the pastel-colored homes on the street. The incline would be perfect to try out our little box cart. Our first ride would be only a short distance. Timmy was in front while I was trailing in the back. We trotted to the top of the hill, proud and excited. When we arrived at the top, Timmy laid the cart on its wheels. Bending over and holding the sides of the cart, Timmy pushed it back and forth a few times, testing the smoothness of the wheel bearings. "Timmy, how does it feel?" I anxiously asked. Timmy nodded his head in affirmation, then proceeded to push the cart with his hands. Before long, Timmy was yelling, "Jump on!" We sat on it and started down the hill. However, the cart immediately veered to the left and we landed in the drain. Timmy decided we needed a way to steer our cart, so we added rope to the side of the front wheels and off to the hill we went for the second test. Overly excited and confident that it was going to work this time, Timmy got on and I joined him again. With ropes in hand and a few moments of rocking back and forth, we were off. "Whee!" we gleefully shouted, feeling the wind against our faces, the vibration under our buttocks, while our hearts raced with fear and excitement. Timmy was leaning from side to side, dodging potholes and stones. It was amazing. We were almost to the bottom of the hill when Mrs. Catherine appeared out of her yard and walked into the street. Before we could shout a warning, Timmy swerved to avoid her. We laughed and cheered as we approached the corner at the very bottom of the hill. "Woo! Woo! Arg!" We were headed for a parked truck at full speed with no way to stop. Timmy suddenly stuck his foot in the space between the front wheel and the cart, sending us somersaulting into the tray of the truck. We landed hard. In shock and pain, we stayed still for a moment, then slowly untangled ourselves. Painfully, we inspected each other. We had a few cuts and bruises where the skin had been removed and only white was visible. We rolled out of the truck's tray and recovered what was left of our project. Parts were under the truck, while the rest was scattered in the street. We gathered the pieces and started up the hill. Our silence was broken when Timmy suddenly said, We'll need brakes the next time." We looked at each other and I said, "I guess so." We laughed and went to our respective homes. I knew it would be a few days before I would be ready for another adventure.